members, we don't have a quorum. I suspend the Parliament until ringing of the bell. Honorable members, we have a quorum. I invite the Minister for Foreign Affairs to lead us with prayer.
Thank you, Lord, for everything that you do for us. Bless all the leaders that are here today as we start a new and blessed year for 2025, and especially celebrating our 50 years of independence. Let's also celebrate the lives of those that we have lost very recently, especially our late leader and father, Sir Julius Chan. May you, Lord, give us guidance, wisdom, and love as we tackle the year's challenges and triumphs ahead. Lord, we are all equal in your eyes, and we humble ourselves in your name. Let's now recite the Lord's Prayer in all its glory and honor. Our Father,
Honorable members, I have to inform the Parliament of the death of Mr. John Late Creed on 4th February 2025. He was first elected to the 8th National Parliament for the Milne Bay provincial seat in the 2007 general election and re-elected to the 10th National Parliament for the same seat in the 2017 general election. During the most terms he had served as Deputy Chairman of the Parliament Referral Committee on Administrative Services from 18th September 2007 to 2012. Mr. Erman Tobining Senior on 24th February 2025. He was first elected to the 3rd National Parliament as the member for the East New Britain province from 1982 to 1987 and was re-elected to the 4th National Parliament for the same seat from 1987 to 1992. During this term, he served as the Parliamentary under Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock from 1991 to 1992. He also served as member of the East New Britain provincial government in 1977 and was elected Premier in 1979. As a mark of respect to the memory of the late honorable gentleman, I invite all honorable members to rise in their place. Honorable members, I acknowledge the presence of the acting governor and provincial assembly members, clerk and staff of New Island Province Assembly, senior government officials, chief of New Island Province and New Island Committee of Port Moresby are present in the public gallery. On behalf of the Parliament, I extend to the visitors warm welcome. Honorable petitions, clerk notices.
The Minister for Petroleum gives notice that is of present a bill for an Act A to provide an administrative framework for the implementation and enforcement of laws and policies governing petroleum activities and matters in Papua New Guinea, and B, to establish the National Petroleum Authority to replace the Department of Petroleum and Energy and for related purposes. The Minister for Petroleum gives notice that is of present a bill for an Act to amend the Oil and Gas Act 1998 and for related purposes.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this Parliament expresses its deepest regret, sympathy, and sorrow at the death on the 30th of January 2025 of late Grand Chief Right Honorable Sir Julius Jane, CBE, KBE, GCMG, GCL, PC, MP, the member for New Island Provincial Government, former Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, and places on record our sincere appreciation for his meritorious public service and tenders our profound sympathy to his family, Lady Stella Chain, his children, Vanessa Chain, Pelgan, Baron Chain, Mark Chain, Toya Chain, and to the grandchildren, people of Namatanai, people of New Island Province, that we extend our profound sympathy and bereavement in this moment of passing. He was first elected to the Namatanai open seat in the second House of Assembly from 1968 to 1972, re-elected to the same seat in the third House of Assembly and the first National Parliament from 1972 to 1977. The second Parliament from 1977 to 1982, third National Parliament from 1982 to 1987, fourth National Parliament from 1987 to 1992, and fifth National Parliament from 1992 to 1997. He was then elected to the New Island Provincial seat in the 8th Parliament from 2007 to 2012, re-elected to the 9th National Parliament from 2012 to 2017, re-elected to the 9th National Parliament from 2012, I beg your pardon, re-elected to the 10th National Parliament from 2017 to 2022, and the 11th National Parliament from 2022 to his passing on 30th of January 2025. During those terms, he served in various capacities as Prime Minister from 1980 to 1982 after a successful vote of no confidence, and from 30th August 1994 to July 22nd, 1997, following the Supreme Court's ruling that declared Mr. Wingti's re-election null and void. He also served as Deputy Prime Minister from 1997 to 1998, from 1985 to 1988, and 1992 to 1994, and Minister for Primary Industry from 1977 to 1978, Minister for Finance and Planning in 1985, and also from 1992 to 1994. Minister for Trade and Industry in 1987 to 1988, and Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade in 1994. He served as the member for New Ireland Provincial Governor, New Ireland Province, and as Governor from 2007 to his passing in 2025. He also served as Deputy Speaker, Vice Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, and was leader of government business between 1968 to 1972, and was member of the Public Accounts Committee in 2012. Mr. Speaker, I put this to you, and I want to reserve my condolence speech after you ask our members to vote for this segment.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I will now move I'll go into my condolence speeches. I want to, Mr. Speaker, from the outset, on behalf of my own people of Taripori, who elected me into office in 2007, and on behalf of my wife Rachel, who was with me in an afternoon of 2002 in April, Sir Julius Chain endorsed me to be his candidate for the Taripori seat. I want to say on behalf of my children and people, to Lady Stella and to Sister Vanessa and Mark, Baron, and to Toya and all the grandchildren, people of Tanga, people of Namatanai, people of New Ireland, all families and relatives. Personally, myself, speaking as a person, I was privileged to have sat at his feet in the formation days of my life as a intending politician. I just want to say thank you very much for his leadership and contribution, greater to the country, for he did well, but more so on my own self. I just want to appreciate the hand that he played in the ushering of my political career. I sincerely appreciate. Mr. Speaker, it really is a moment of profound sadness for me to speak and to pay homage and pay tribute to this great man who shared the political life with other great men, the greatest in Sir Michael Somare, and all in the 1968, the Second House of Assembly, to prepare our country for independence from 1972 to 75. Today, speaking, when we are facing our 50th anniversary, it was said for us in Parliament and in Cabinet to receive news of his sad passing on the 30th of January this year. Mrs. Assistant Speaker, our nation's 50th anniversary is dawning on us in 6 months' time. We were in Cabinet when we received the news that Sir Julius was lying in bed in his last moments. In that cabinet on 29th of January, our discussions that exact moment was centered around our 50th anniversary and how it would be fitting for us to have the last man standing with us on our 50th anniversary day. It is not to be so. The day we choose to launch our 50th anniversary program for the year commemorated with the day he passed on. And I stand here saddened that just 6 months short, we lost the last man standing in this parliament, a parliament that he served since 1968. And so, Mr. Speaker, it just points to us, our members of parliament here, that we're living in monumental moments. When I became Prime Minister in 2019, little did I knew that under my watch I would have laid to rest 4 of our country's Prime Ministers. In fact, Mr. Speaker, Sir Mekere, on December 20th, 2020 that he passed on. Sir Michael passed on in 2021, February. It was here in this parliament. Coincidentally, 11th of March 2021, we were here receiving his body to give him respect. 11th of March 2025, we are now speaking on his great friend, help, and partner in the genesis of our country, Sir Julius, was passed on. Coincidentally, 2 same days, Sir Michael, 11th of March 2021, Sir Julius, 11th of March 2025. We are here discussing and paying homage to him in the moment. 2 leaders who shaped our country, our number 1 Prime Minister and our number 2 Prime Minister. Great compatriots in the cause for our country thus far. Sir Julius rose from a humble beginning, and needless to repeat, as most of us know, but he was born for the moment here to record it from his current serving Prime Minister. I have to say he was born on the 29th of August 1939 on Tonga Island, New Ireland Province. Since then, he has emerged to be our country's 2nd Prime Minister. Elected into office in the 1968 Second House of Assembly as member for Namatanai, formed People's Party on the 11th of November 1969 with Warren Dutton and 11 others. Sir Julius, since then, partnering with Sir Michael, became our country's leading advocate for independence and worked hard and tirelessly ushering our birth as a sovereign nation the 16th of September 1975. His life, right through the time he has been in public service, has become synonymous with some of our nation's historic landmarks. 1975, as our country's first finance minister, he was the chief architect in respect to our country's economy and the financial architecture we have today. The hard Kina policy at 1975, the setup of an independent central bank at 1975, the phasing out of dollar to bring in Kina in a diligent phase-out period. He supervised that. And the birthing of Kina and Toya. That started the journey of what Sir Julius has become for our country as we laid him to rest. He was a strong hand in as far as our country's finances are concerned. Mr. Assistant Speaker, in 1980, he became our country's 2nd Prime Minister and our first through Section 145 of our Constitution. In 1994, he became our country's Prime Minister again are first utilizing Section 146, provision of our Constitution, Section 146. 1997, and in 1994, if I could add in, introduced a soft Guinea policy to mitigate some of our nation's tough economic woes at the time. He allowed Guinea to be floating on its value on the open market again. 1997, Sandline saga made him become the first prime minister to step out of office. And if I could put it here at this juncture, I want to thank him and People's Progress Party that in 1997 they allowed the late John Guiano cross-reference outside from People's Progress Party and allowed the late John Guiano, who was then leader of Pangu Party, to become the acting prime minister. In 1997, he became the first prime minister to lose an election, a sitting prime minister to lose an election by his own people of Namatanai, who chose someone else than him. And he was out for 10 years and returned in 2007, this time to serve in his capacity as governor of his beloved province of Namatanai. In the sunset of his life, he was a deep advocate for decentralization and empowerment of the provincial government system. And I want to say that his vision for provincial self-reliance is encapsulated in his own Malagan Declaration, something that we commit to look into and resonates with my Take Back PNG mantra that each province must have self-sufficiency as far as economic growth is concerned. Sir Julius, in the sunset of his life, looked back in politics and felt that governance is not empowerment of Waigani, but decentralization of governments closest to the people, and that is where the provincial government is. And so he's moved on, and I want to say this juncture to all of us that at this Parliament, the foundational leaders of our country are passing on. With the passing of Sir Julius, some others fell with him in this year. First Premier of New Britain Province, the Honourable Eruman Tobining Senior, passed on. We do acknowledge him too. Our recent Governor of Milne Bay Province, the late Honourable Sir John Luke Rithin, represented the class of Papua New Guineans who choose PNG home. Some of us were battered into this country, so we have no choice but to work. The class of Sir John Luke Rithin choose PNG as home. Before independence, choose us, remain right through. One or two amongst us serving in our current parliament, these are special people. They choose this country as home. And they are passing on. What is it that we must do this time around? My brothers and my three sisters in this parliament, politics can come and go, but leadership starts at the core, our core of service to our people. If there is something Sir Julius taught us, Sir Julius taught a life of maintaining your own space, but working together with others. Could be greatly seen in the light and life of Sir Julius and Sir Michael. Two great nemesis in as far as politics is concerned, but two great compatriots to the work for PNG. One, a great Melanesian consensus-based leader. One, in Sir Julius, a great modern leader focused on delivering outcome for his people, his country. I remember when I was growing up in his school of politics, I sat with him and heard him on how he decided. There are many things he said, but I pick on the Poropona Freeway. Every time he traveled on the Poropona Freeway, he said thank you to Sir Julius. When works engineers at that time were telling him cost is too big, there is no need for this freeway, Sir Julius heard and said, what is the traffic load in the future in this city? And against many advices, if there were Facebook in those times, they would have crucified Sir Julius. But he said, build this freeway. Let's not delay. And the freeway was constructed late 1996 and 1997. That is the man that is in passing. They've played their role for our country. I want to close by saying thank you to the immediate families. As a Prime Minister at present, I know what pain it feels for our family to miss out on the life of a father, and the life of a husband, and the life of someone who could be there for you. Thank you to Lady Stella and to the 4 children, the grandchildren. You have lended a husband and a father to us to be our leader. We are forever grateful to the family, immediate family of late Sir Julius. And I want to say, if on our side, in the sunset of his life, if we have offended Sir Julius, then the best redemption we can seek or we could do is to ensure his dreams, especially Malagan Accord and other dreams he had, not just for New Ireland, but for our country, that resonates with some that Pangu have. And as far as people empowerment, where it matters most in as far as the resource is concerned, gets to materialize in this parliament as our nation prepares life beyond 50 years of our nationhood without the anchor leaders of our country that are now in rest. May God give this great leader eternal rest, and according to his wisdom, resurrect him to eternal life when Jesus Christ comes back the second time. But in the meantime, I, on behalf of Taripori, I, on behalf of Pangu Party, and for the government I lead, and many good leaders who stay with me, offer our sincerest condolences, our profound sympathy to the passing of this great man of Papua New Guinea, who was symbolic to Kin and Toya, and was symbolic to the economic independence that we are pursuing. Thank you very much.
Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. I also would like to join the Prime Minister and Parliament in paying our tributes to this great man, great leader, great chief of our land. I acknowledge the presence of the acting governor of the New Ireland Provincial Assembly and the members of the Assembly who are in our presence this afternoon. I also acknowledge the chiefs of New Ireland, the Maimais, who are also in our midst. Lady Stella Chan and the children, Vanessa, Byron, Mark, and Toya, and the extended families, members who are with us this afternoon in the chambers. Also to the New Ireland community here in Port Moresby and throughout Papua New Guinea. On behalf of my wife and children, the people of Kiruna Good Enough, the people of Milne Bay Province, Papua New Guinea as a whole, and the honorable opposition I honorably represent. Mr. Assistant Speaker, late Sir Julius Chen was with us in the opposition until his final call to be with the Lord. He chose to be in the opposition.
we in the opposition treasure his wise counsel and advice. Having a senior statesman in our midst, a man with great stature, yet very humble and respectful. Also respected by Papua New Guineans locally and by the international community as well. Mr. Speaker, I pay homage to the late Right Honorable Sir Julius Chen and salute him for his enormous service to this great nation of Papua New Guinea. The contributions by Sir Julius Chen, or Sir J, as most of us would remember him by, to this country during his formative years, starting in the 1960s until independence was achieved in 1975, is beyond compare and perhaps equal only to those of the great chief, Grand Chief, the Right Honorable Sir Michael Thomas himself. One day, Mr. Assistant Speaker, when historians come to write the history of Papua New Guinea, I hope they will not miss the great contributions to this nation of these two senior statesmen, but will be able to document every milestone contribution by Sir Julius, or Sir J, and Sir Michael, who, with the help of other leaders such as Sir Albert Marikiki, Sir Ruben Tareka, Sir Tai Abao, Sir Thomas Cavalli, Sir Paul Lapun, Sir Ebia Olawale, Sir Matthias Toliman, and Sir Yambaki Okuk, to name but a few, who also assisted in the founding of our great nation, despite their limited education and experience or precedence in the art of politics and governing. I would say much is yet to be desired of today's leaders. We must strive to be like our founding fathers, or even better. Sir J was born on the 29th of August, 1939, on Tanga Island in New Island Province. He was fifth of the 7 children of his father, Mr. Chan Pak, a trader from Tyson in China, and his mother, Miriam Tinkoris of Namatanai, New Island Province. Mr. Assistant Speaker, Sir Julius was married to Lady Stella Chen in 1966 and had 4 children: Vanessa Andrea, Byron James, Mark Gavin, and Toya Chen. Apart from English and Tok Pisin, Sir J also mastered the Susarenga language, his mother tongue, and his father's Condolences language. Sir Julius Chen was educated at Matters College, Ash Grove in Brisbane, Australia. As a young man in late 1960s, Sir J got involved in politics. Together with Warren Dutton, he founded the People's Progress Party, or PPP, in November 1969. He had been Parliamentary
leader of PPP, Party for much of the period from 1970, except for 10 years when he was out of parliament from 1997 to 2007. Mr. Assistant Speaker, Sir Julius Chen was Prime Minister twice. First from 1980 to 1982, then from 1994 to 1997. He was Deputy Prime Minister 4 times, in 1976, 1985, 1986, and from 1992 to 1994. He was a true nationalist, a man who loved his people and a future generation of Papua New Guinea. He always wanted nothing but the best for this country and its people. Sir Julius Chen also held following ministerial portfolios as Minister for Finance from 1972 to 1977, from 1985 to 1986, and from 1992 to 1994 as Minister for Primary Industry, from 1977 to 1978 as Minister for External Affairs and Trade. Born a politician to serve in public office, Sir Julius Chen couldn't stay out of politics after he lost his seat in Parliament in 1997 elections. Sir Julius Chen contested and won the New Ireland provincial seat in 2007, and became governor for New Ireland province, an office he retained until his passing on the 30th of January 2025. In recognition of his great contributions to this country, Sir Julius Chen was rewarded by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in knighting him initially with a Knight Commander of the Most Distinguished Order of the British Empire, or KBE, in 1981, and which, 1981, and which was later upgraded to GCMG, or Commander, or Knight Grand Cross of Order of St. Michael and St. George in 1982. Her Majesty made Sir Julius Chen a Privy Councillor of the very exclusive Privy Council. Sir J had major accomplishments. I have spoken greatly on a lot of these accomplishments, and a lot of leaders in this House have spoken greatly about his accomplishments. And Mr. Speaker, I wouldn't want to dwell more on that. I would like to allow a lot of our leaders to also contribute today. I'd like to conclude, Mr. Speaker. I call upon all leaders in Parliament to emulate great deeds that Sir Julius Chen has left behind in his legacy. Just by being decisive in the defense of our democracy and in recognition of the diversity of our multiple cultural identities in Papua New Guinea. Sir J and Sir Michael very clearly demonstrated achieving national unity through consensus and establishing trust between various micronations of our 1,000 tribes, and not by driving a bulldozer through our provincial identities. I salute you, Sir Julius Chen. Continue to rest in eternal peace. May God bless Papua New Guinea, and God bless her people. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to also stand to give my remarks and condolences. On the eve of our country's 50th independence anniversary, on January 30 this year, Papua New Guinea lost one of our last founding fathers of our nation. The last man standing, the late Grand Chief, Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan. I rise today to pay tribute to a true statesman, a visionary leader, and one of Papua New Guinea's founding fathers, who helped with others steer our country into self-governance and independence, and was the forefront of our country's economic development. I, amongst many, if not all in this room, have been privileged to interact with him on a few occasions. Sir Julius' passing is an immense loss to our country, and we extend our heartfelt condolences to his family, the people of New Ireland, close friends, associates, colleagues, former and current employees, and the nation as a whole. Their loss will be immeasurable. Special mention to his wife, the good lady Stella Chan, and for his 4 children, Vanessa, Byron, Mark, and Toya. Misawe, Belblupla, Brook, Lolus, Lopapa, Blupla. Sir Julius was a great husband, father, and grandfather. My sincere condolences from myself, my family, and the people of Leh to you and yours, especially to Lady Stella. From humble beginnings to a venerated statesman, Sir Julius was part and parcel of establishing the pillars of our nation. He dedicated his life to public service, leading with wisdom, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to the people of Papua New Guinea. He was a man of extraordinary political acumen, a leader who played a pivotal role in shaping our nation from its early days of independence. Mr. Speaker, as one of our Prime Ministers, Sir Julius made immense contributions to economic reforms, governance, and national development. His leadership in driving economic policies and fostering private sector growth remains a cornerstone of our great progress today. He understood that for Papua New Guinea to thrive, it had to embrace both our traditions and our modernity in a very diversified nation, balancing our rich cultural heritage with economic advancement. This was more remarkable coming from someone who was born on a remote island in Tonga, and especially so, someone of mixed race heritage in that time. Sir Julius' contributions shaped the nation's political and economic landscape as the architect of a national currency, the Kina and Toya. He played a pivotal role in strengthening PNG's sovereignty and financial independence. His leadership as Minister for Finance in 1975 laid the foundation for economic stability and self-reliance. Through the People's Progress Party, which he co-founded and led with distinction, Sir Julius championed economic growth, political stability, and provincial autonomy. Mr. Speaker, beyond politics, Sir Julius was a man of great integrity, diplomacy, and wisdom. A true patriot, Sir Julius dedicated his life to public service, mentoring future leaders and advocating for the prosperity of our people. His legacy in governance, economic policy, and nation building will continue to inspire generations. His ability to engage with global leaders while staying deeply connected to his people in New Ireland was a testament to his enduring legacy. Mr. Speaker, Sir Julius Chan's life is a reminder to all of us in this House that leadership is about service, sacrifice, and vision. His contributions will continue to inspire generations of Papua New Guineans. In a light moment, I remember when I was about 24 years old, Sir Julius, who was a fitness fanatic when I was in Kundiawa, I had the privilege of meeting him. He used to wake up early in the morning at 5 o'clock and run up the hill on Kundiawa Hill with his bodyguards trying really hard to catch up with him. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, as we pay tribute to Sir Julius today, let us also celebrate his life and legacy. Let us honor his memory by continuing the work he started, building a stronger, united, and prosperous Papua New Guinea. Mr. Speaker, once again, on behalf of my family, the people of Lae, and myself, I pay tribute to our late Grand Chief, Sir Julius Chan, an extraordinary leader, a founding father, and a true statesman of Papua New Guinea. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Regional Member for Gulf.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. Assistant Speaker, today I stand before you with a heavy heart. The heavy heart to honor a great leader, a mentor and a dear friend, and the last man standing. Sir Julius Chan's passing is a great loss to this country, not only to his family and New Ireland province, especially the people of Namatanai, but to Papua New Guinea. He served with dedication, he served with honor, he served with commitment and unstinted loyalty and skill for over 50 years until the last day of January this year. He was an icon, and I want to appreciate the presence of the acting governor and the Maimais of New Ireland who are in the chamber today. He was an icon, one of Papua New Guinea's longest serving leaders, and a leader, I believe, one of the first to die in the job whilst having his people's mandate. And his contributions to our nation will remain for generations to come. He was amongst those first people to form a foundation political party. And he believed in parties as the democratic institutions, and he led one to independence, self-government and independence, and he remained a key figure in government for decades of service. He fought hard to keep investor confidence intact, to make people believe in Papua New Guinea, to stabilize the economy without harming Papua New Guineans. This was the kind of leader he was: practical, sharp, and pragmatic, but always thinking 3 steps ahead. That experience taught me a great deal about leadership when I came to be with him, about making decisions that are tough, that needed to be made, and staying committed to the people at the same time, where or was his path. Even outside of politics, Sir J never stopped offering guidance to us, to myself, to leaders that he came into contact with, and with ordinary Papua New Guineans. In recent years, we would often talk about challenges Papua New Guinea still faces today, on economic management, on leadership, on governance, and on how we thought we were going. he always had concerns. He was there at Independence, setting up a tax office, customs office, it's now called IRC. IPA today, it was called NIDA those days, National Development Bank, the Agriculture Bank, and of course, BSP or PNG Investment Corporation, and the central bank. More so, the monetary and fiscal policy foundations of these institutions and the system of interrelationships between them, the private sector and the fledgling insurance sector and other supporting service sectors that the new nation of Papua New Guinea needed were all established under his watch. And these institutions continue to serve our country today, ensuring that there is stability and there is growth. Sir Julius understood the importance of business, trade, and investment. And in developing our economy, the private sector, for him, was the engine room of growth. He worked to bring investment in Papua New Guinea and set up policies that supported businesses and financial development. The sugar industry, the fisheries, canning and loining industries in Madan and Leh, and the oil palm industry, the coffee industry, all owe their existence to his leadership and effort. He had a very sharp mind and could very quickly find practical solutions to complex problems, making him one of the most effective economic leaders our country has ever had. For me, this loss is deeply personal. My friendship and working relationship with Sir Julius spanned over 40 years or more. In the 1980s, when he was serving as Prime Minister, I was the Provincial Secretary for Gulf. Later, in the mid-1990s, I had the honor of serving him as his Deputy PM and Minister for Finance in the Chan Habitat government. Together, Sir Julius remained calm and focused and strategic. He knew that knee-jerk reactions would only hurt ordinary Papua New Guineans. Instead, he led a controlled response, securing financial support while protecting essential services. As I said before, he fought hard to keep investor confidence intact and to stabilize the economy without harming Papua New Guinea. That experience taught me a great deal about leadership, about making tough decisions, and about staying committed to the people we serve. In Sandline, we opted to give space to an acting PM. He gave space to John Giano, as the Prime Minister said. However, let me correct the statement that many people say today that he resigned. He never resigned. He stepped aside. He took leave, and he allowed the investigations to be made. I and the late Matthias Ijape, Honorable Ijape, we made a decision to follow. So we also stepped aside. It was a decision he left to us, and we willingly followed. After 2 intensive commissions of inquiry, the findings were against those who had initiated it. And no adverse findings were ever made against Sir Julius, Donald Ijape, and myself. Such was his belief in our systems of government and administration. We worked hard to strengthen the economy and introduce financial reforms and reforms that corporatized the public sector. We had our disagreements at times, as it happens in politics, but friendship and mutual respect never wavered. Sir Julius was a man of his word. He valued honesty, he valued loyalty, and he appreciated hard work. Even when we were on opposite sides of a parliament, we could always pick up a phone and call each other. That was the kind of man he was. Always open, always willing to listen, and always thinking about what was best for our country. One of the greatest tests of leadership is how a person responds in times of crisis. And in 1997, I witnessed that firsthand in Sandline. Papua New Guinea was hit with an uprising and a constitutional challenge that threatened our stability as a democratic country. And what I mentioned before, Sir Julius did. He did as Prime Minister, facing a collapsing currency, rising inflation, and a struggling economy. He had to bring this economy under control. These problems were brought on by overexpenditure and the cooking of books by previous governments. It came home to roost when we took government. The IMF and the World Bank told us, no, you cannot hide your expenditures, over expenditures, and carry it to the new year. You have to declare it at the end of every year. So we did the best we can in cabinet meetings, debating the best path forward. There were drastic calls for measures, some advised against cutting essential services, others suggested increasing taxes in struggling businesses. But Sir Jay, as wise as he was, he guided us. And he guided me as best as we could. And we, in 1997 at general elections, left a country that was afloat, a country that may not have as much debt as we have today, a country that has had Forex for investors, where foreign exchange was not a problem. Sergey never stopped offering guidance, and his advice on economic management was always insightful, always relevant, and always wise, grounded in lifelong experience. To Lady Stella and his children Vanessa, Byron, Mark and Toya, and the families and the people of New Ireland, I extend my deepest condolences. From myself, the people of Gulf, especially the people of Uritai and Kukipi, where Sergey served in his first job in Papua New Guinea as a corps officer. I know this is a time of sadness, a great sadness for you, but I hope you take comfort in knowing that his legacy will live on in the history of Papua New Guinea. He dedicated his life to us. He worked tirelessly to build the institutions we rely on. He was a true statesman, a man of vision, and a leader who will always put Papua New Guinea first. So Jay, your work is done. You built institutions like Central Bank, MRDC, Oregon Minerals, Ramen Sugar. You made tough decisions like the float of Akina. You guided us through turbulent waters in the economy and Sandline, and you set up the new provincial government system. And you did so with unwavering commitment to this country. Your legacy lives on. The history of Papua New Guinea will forever carry your name as one of its greatest sons. Your lasting legacy, of course, is the national pledge, pulled from the Constitution when you were Prime Minister in the Chan Habitat government, to make compulsory for future generations to learn and recite the national pledge daily as they attend assemblies and classes throughout this country. This was not done in independence up to the time that Sergey and I were in government. So lest we forget, may you rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Honourable Member and Minister, Regional New Island.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to honour the life of one of our founding fathers, Sir Julius Chan, and take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of his family, members of the New Island Provincial Assembly, and other distinguished guests accompanying them in a gallery this afternoon. Governor for New Island, our second Prime Minister, and indeed our First Minister for Finance, which in 1975 had oversight for Treasury, Finance and Planning. My family knew Sir Julius well. My uncle Morris Ling was a foundation member starting PPP, or the People's Progress Party, in West New Britain Province in 1970. My paternal father, Robert Cheong, was the first PPP provincial member for East Coast Karanalik, Kavieng, at independence from 1975 to 1982. My father was also the PPP candidate for the Kavieng open seat in 1987. It is not surprising then he was Sir Jay's inaugural coordinator for Tabar Islands in 1968 when Sir Julius first contested and won the Namatnai open seat. He was a workaholic. I worked with him briefly in 1982, 43 years ago. He started his day at 5 a.m., as Deputy Prime Minister correctly stated, and regularly finished after midnight. His only break was at dinner, where it would again be taken up meeting with VIPs and other leaders. At his favorite restaurant, actually the only restaurant then in Waigani, the Golden Bowl. I remember his stories of hard work. Well, such was his dedication to public office, setting a standard by which all future generations have tried to emulate. I remember his stories of his hard work he had to do in the early agricultural cooperative days, lifting 180-pound bags of copra. We shared the same strong work ethic. We shared the same vision of improving the living standards of all New Islanders and all of Papua New Guinea. But we did not always share the same policy positions. At times, many times, as we grew into cranky old men, we were in conflict on autonomy, on monetary and fiscal policy, old age pensions, sosopan, you name it, we made it, an election platform. But despite these differences, we shared a deep and common love for the people of New Island. In Namatnai and Kavieng, as in PNG, people can have different views on how best to achieve shared visions. Policy differences are often exaggerated by politics. My worry is that our late former Prime Minister could feel that his pioneering work from 1968 in the Legislative Assembly and decades of work later has not delivered on the hopes of our founding fathers. Our people's standard of living on the best economic indicators available today have fallen since independence. This would not have been his dream. There has been a historic improvement since 2020, but our people are still worse off than they were in 1975. Sir Julius knew this. It was not his vision. It is not our government's vision as we move to celebrate and recalibrate our 50th year anniversary. We must all learn from our past, our successes, and our failures. We must also learn from Sir Julius's experiences when he moved to a freely convertible currency back in 1994. After then Governor of the Central Bank of Papua New Guinea rang him at 5 a.m. one morning to tell him that PNG had run out of foreign currency and negative international financial reserves. So we must learn how to make the transitions to better economic policies that protect our living standards. There is an old saying, all grievances stop at the gravesite. So I echo these words for all citizens and all New Islanders, for all his immense contributions. There may have been moments you felt your expectations were not met or even disagreed. Let us all today move on, knowing that he gave all Papua New Guineans his very best. So the passing of Sir Julius should not only be a time to mourn or seen as the end of an era, but rather a reset, an opportunity for all New Islanders and all Papua New Guineans to embrace his legacies where there is commonality and to impose our own vision for a better country that Sir Julius and our founding fathers would be proud of. Sir J. Achansuk, rest in peace.
Honorable Member for Yalibu Pankia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I too join fellow leaders in extending our condolences to the family of late Sir Julius Chen, Lady Stella, Vanessa, Byron, Mark and Toya and their respective families, the acting governor for New Ireland and the members of the Provincial Executive Council and the Provincial Assembly, all the Mai and the people of New Ireland and Namatanai especially, on behalf of PNC and behalf of my family and my people of Yalibu Pangia, we extend our sympathies, pay our respect, extend our appreciation, and we honor this great gentleman. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the family for sharing Sir Julius's life with our nation and our people and our country, because he's served this country throughout his entire life, from a young man to the time that he has served out as a governor of New Ireland Province. He is one of the very few leaders in this country, Mr. Speaker, that has been honored as founders of our great nation. These few leaders have laid the foundations of which we call our great nation, Papua New Guinea, today that remains independent, free, and enjoys the democratic values they have enshrined in the Constitution that we now respect and honor in this country as the laws that govern our nation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, despite many challenges we face today, and of course over the last 50 years, Mr. Speaker, I am privileged that a few of us and many of us leaders here in this parliament and parliaments in the past have had a privilege of working with these great leaders, Sir Julius Chan, Sir Michael Somare, and many other leaders who have served their time in this honorable house. We have benefited greatly, Mr. Speaker, from their wise counsel and guidance. Sir Julius in particular, Mr. Speaker, man of great honor, Mr. Speaker. His word was his honor. He was selfless, hardworking, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, during challenging times in the history of this country, Mr. Speaker, Sir Julius Chan stood tall. As he stood tall in the beginning of our nationhood. As many speakers before me have stated, Mr. Speaker, many of the government institutions, the departments that we manage today, the financial institutions that we enjoy and serve us, and of course, many of the constitutional offices that govern our nation and our leadership, Mr. Speaker, were formed and founded by these great leaders, including Sir Julius Chan. Mr. Speaker, the challenge on us, the next generation of leaders, is to honor their contribution to our nationhood and continue the legacy that they have given to us. And Mr. Speaker, and that is by protecting these institutions, making sure that they continue to function for the best interest of our nation and our people. Mr. Speaker, as we all know, Sir Julius Chan is a great financial brain. He had an intellect that was beyond many of our own capacities, and he is purely responsible for the sort of economy that we enjoy in our country. Mr. Speaker, during the formation of our nation, many of our leaders visited many countries around the world. They visited countries that practice Western democracies like ours. They visited countries that had socialism and communism around the world to form the constitution that we have today. And it could have been easily that the economy of a country could have been managed and structured in a different manner. But we have inherited a capitalism way of doing business in our country, and largely that is due to the contributions that Sir Julius Chan has made. So, Mr. Speaker, while we enjoy this growing economy, we must not forget the foundations that they have set. Also, Mr. Speaker, today we also have a very healthy and huge population, well educated in the country, Mr. Speaker. Again, the work of governments that Sir Julius Chan and Sir Michael Somare and many other founding fathers have set the foundations for which many of us are beneficiaries. We were educated, and we are now serving as leaders in this country because of the hard work that they have done, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, in trying to pay my respects and condolences to the family, I want for us to reflect on the work that these great men have done, and in particular Sir Julius Chan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is our duty as leaders and members of Parliament, especially members of this honorable House, that we learn from the examples that these leaders have set for us, and we try and use that experience to guide us in making decisions into the future. Mr. Speaker, we are all earthly men. We have made mistakes, but Mr. Speaker, men like Sir Julius Chan in a life of a country are very rare to find. And we are privileged to have had him in this honorable house serving our country and our people. To his family, once again, thank you very much for sharing his life with us. May God bless Sir Julius Chen. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And may God bless this great nation, Papua New Guinea. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The regional member for West New Britain.
Offering homage to our founding father, late Sir Julius Chen. This is also the message on behalf of our party members. In case we all do not have an opportunity, of course, thank you for Leader of Government Business that we will continue offering our homage messages for late Sir Julius Chen even tomorrow. Honorable Speaker and also other colleagues, today as we convene our first 2025 session, it is with a heavy heart that we gather to honor the memory of a remarkable leader, a visionary, and a true patriot, the late Sir Julius Chen, Governor of New Ireland Province. Let me also acknowledge the presence of the acting governor and all the provincial assembly members and family of late Sir Julius Chen in the gallery. Apart from being the first finance minister and also the father of Kina and Toya and being a second prime minister of Papua New Guinea, Sir Julius Chen was just more than a colleague. He was a mentor to many of us, a trailblazer and a friend. His passion for provincial autonomy was unmatched. He believed that the strength of our nation lies in the empowerment of our provinces. He often reminded us that true development begins at the grassroots level, where the voices of our people are heard and their needs are met. His proposal of that provincial autonomy and his reforms to the Mining Act are the staunch evidences for his passion. Sir Julius was a firm advocate for decentralization. He envisioned a Papua New Guinea where provinces had the resources, authority, and capacity to drive their own development. He fought tirelessly to ensure that provincial governments were not mere extensions of the national government, but dynamic entities capable of shaping their own destinies. His leadership in New Ireland Province was a testament to this vision. Under his guidance, New Ireland Province became a model of progress and self-reliance and innovation. Sir Julius Chen was not only a leader but a statesman in every sense of the word. His contributions to Papua New Guinea are immeasurable, spanning decades of service as Prime Minister, Governor of New Ireland Province, and a tireless advocate for national unity and progress. He dedicated his life to the betterment of his people, serving with integrity, resilience, and unshakable belief in the potential of Papua New Guinea. He's a leader, someone who really loved his people. And leader has to have that hope and belief in his people. Mr. Assistant Speaker, what resources don't we have in Papua New Guinea that we have to put our hands to the outside world? God has blessed everything in abundance in this country, and he is a strong advocate for our self-reliance. As we reflect on his life, let us also remember what late Sir Julius wanted for the current generation of our leaders. He urged us to prioritize service over self-interest and to champion transparency and accountability and to remain steadfast in our commitment to the people we serve. He challenged us to think boldly, to innovate, and to never lose sight of the bigger picture. Mr. Assistant Speaker, to honor his memory, let us recommit ourselves to the cause of provincial autonomy, to the cause of all the reforms he introduced in mining industries. Let us work together to ensure that every province has the tools and support it needs to thrive. Let us build a Papua New Guinea where no one is left behind, where every citizen has the opportunity to succeed, and where the dreams of leaders like Sir Julius Chan are realized. We should celebrate his life, and more importantly, Assistant Speaker, we should learn to celebrate the life of all our elders and founding fathers and seniors while they are still alive. Many times we miss the opportunity and we regret later, and we heap prizes after once they leave this world. Let us embrace all the leaders here, the seniors here who has been contributing to this country while they are still alive, and we acknowledge their service. In closing, Mr. Assistant Speaker, I extend my deepest condolences to the family of late Sir Julius Chan, the people of New Ireland Province, and all who knew and loved him. May his soul rest in eternal peace, and may his legacy continue to inspire all of us. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you.
The Minister for Fisheries.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. I take this time on behalf of the people of East New Britain, the Greater New Guinea Islands, all Papua New Guineans, to give respect to a great man. For some of us, we don't go to school to become politicians. We watch what our elders have taught us to do, and we try to emulate what our elders have done. So Julius, to most of us, to all of us, had this knack of actually giving us advice that could make us better. And if you had the time to sit down with him and listen to some of the stories that he had, because in those days, nobody taught them how to become leaders of our nation. The first founding fathers, they learned everything from the day they walked in. Sir Michael, Sir Julius, the whole lot of them. So every mistake they made, they had to correct that mistake and do better. We are the privileged now that we learn from those mistakes, or those ideas that help forge our nation. We learn from that now, because we have the choice to have learned from their time. We talk about him now that he's gone, and we say the things that he really, we talk about New Ireland, we talk about where he came from. But us from East New Britain, Sir Julius was our leader as well. In the days of forming government in those days, East New Britain and New Ireland, we were one. We were together. And I don't call him a leader of New Ireland. I call him a leader of Papua New Guinea. I've been to places with Sir Julius in the Highlands where people flock to see him, just to see him. And people give him that respect. And everybody's got a story of how he'd wake up so early in the morning and go running. And his bodyguards are trying to keep up with him, as Deputy Prime Minister said. Our nation has come so far under his guidance. I am truly blessed to have had time to spend with him, as I've been truly blessed to serve two prime ministers. And I can honestly tell you from both prime ministers that I've served, they'd never forget the past. So Julius always told us, he said, we're all on a path. Sometimes the path goes a bit crooked and we go off to the side a bit. But we're still moving in that direction. This type of advice is how our government should be going, how people should be going, leadership should be going. Yeah, we're not all holy. We don't all claim to know everything. But when you learn something from a guy that's done it, and he tells you, yeah, you made the mistake, pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and continue to go. That's how we should be going. When I went to New Ireland to the burial of Sir Julius, the Blominski Highway is not a small highway. To see flowers, not 1 inch of that road, to see flowers scattered all over that road for him to go, it gives you the greatest respect of the man that had just passed. I also give appreciation to Lady Stella. Sir Julius was in Parliament for most of his life. Some would say the whole of his life. But to be in that position, to have a strong woman standing behind you, that is a feat. All women should be proud of standing behind him all this time. The children, Vanessa, Byron, Mark, Toya, it's not easy. It's not easy to step in shoes. Shoes so big, I don't think anyone could fall into those shoes or fit those shoes. But we got to try, because he didn't die for nothing. He made us all believe that we could make a great country. That's his greatest asset. Don't think that he was the smartest guy on the planet. He was wise. He made his mistakes. But we all have to work together to correct it and make it happen. And he gave us the way to do it. We just have to look inside of us to ensure that we follow somebody that has given us the direction. That's what we need from our founding fathers, the directions. On behalf of my family, my people of Gazelle, the Greater Eastern Britain, again, condolences to Lady Stella, all the children, all the grandchildren, the vacuum that Sir Julius has left. I hope in the future that we can work together to ensure that the dreams that he left behind for us to fulfill are fulfilled. Thank you and God bless.
Yeah, member for Talasia.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. Let me join the rest of you to pay our tribute to a great man of our young nation. Our political party, the People's Party, stands to uphold some of the principle and vision. Great men in late Grand Chief Somare, late Mekere Murata, and now Sir Julius Chan, among others, have stood for. Chan's feat in political marathon is unmatched and a legacy on its own. Etched into the oracles and history of our nation, even folklore to be recited in generations to come. The great Sir Julius Chan have been a great believer of good governance, upholding of strong democratic principles in political, economic management, and institutional functioning. He always believed in the independence of the political arms of government, as was exemplified in his willing resignation in the 1997 during the Sandline crisis. We now mourn and pay our tributes to a great man who had left behind memorable legacy in our thriving democracy and young, beautiful country. He was one of the founding fathers and the last man standing till this day. Regrettably, he fell short of 8 months to see the celebration of our nation's 50th anniversary
of the country he fought to build over his 57 years in politics. We recall briefly some of his memorable contributions, which are etched into our history, apart from his strong personality and his ability to solve problems through reasoning and through the Melanesian and chiefly established system. His economic contribution as 3 times finance minister and 2 times prime minister are numerous. He had been the economic mind behind Somare's economic achievement. He brought in and installed kina and toya to replace the Australian dollars and shillings as our own national currency. During those times, our kina convertibility was as good as the US dollars and even very strong. He also realized thereafter that the hard kina policy could not be maintained as we required more inflows of forex, such as dollars, to equalize the currency markets and ought to undertake austerity measures in calling for infrastructure development and structural reforms to make the economy more competitive. He regrettably, under pressure from IMF and World Bank, among others, also ought to abandon the hard kina policy to allow the kina to subject to free market forces and devalue naturally. The work of devaluation of kina he initiated was later carried out in full swing under late Bill Skate in 1997. Late Morata also carried on the structural reforms to full extent to continue the momentum initiated by this great mind. His reforms to the financial institutions were also many. He was also instrumental in setting up the Bank of Papua New Guinea to be independent from the Reserve Bank of Australia. He believed in the independence of the central bank, in the regulation of financial institutions, the financial markets, and the independence of the governor of the bank as the sole authority in dispensing monetary policies, while political leaders can only indicate national interest through moral sources. During his remaining days, he had reminiscent and sometimes nostalgic on how strong institutions can crumble under too much political interference. In contribution to setting up the key institutions of government, he had always emphasized the independence and checks and balance system as a crucial ingredient of good governance. He always believed that politicians should not interfere with the workings of the bureaucrats and always allow the clear demarcations to exist. He always emphasized that the 3 arms of government should always be independent of each other. When he left national politics, even giving away an opportunity to become prime minister to late Morata, to concentrate on the affairs of his province as governor. He had always fought for his people, the greater decentralization of functions of national government, and lately provincial greater autonomy were some of the agendas he had been fighting for till this day. We will greatly miss him. At the same time, carry dearly in our minds and hearts who are remarkable and great men Sir Julius Chen had been to us as a young, vibrant, democratic country. On behalf of the People's Party and the people of Thalassa District, especially the Bali Vitu and the Bakawi people, and our residents of Kimber Town, we would like to convey our condolences to the great family, late Stella, Byron, Toya, Vanessa, Mark, the grandchildren, and the people of New Island Province. Thank you.
The Governor for NCDC.
Great Mai of our country, founding father of our country, former governor, governor of our province of New Ireland, Prime Minister 2 times, Sir Julius Chen. On behalf of our capital city, on behalf of our party too, and all our members in the country, Social Democratic Party, and on behalf of my family, I would like to firstly offer our condolence to his brother, Michael, his sister, to all the children, to Vanessa, Mark, Byron, and Toya. Also to our members of New Ireland, Treasurer, youth staff, Minister Bloyumi Long, Transport and Civil Aviation. Imelgeda family. Condolence the Toxore, Big Play Golo Plateau. Acting Governor Bloyumi Long, New Ireland, and Mr. Bloya. All the leaders Bloyumi Long, New Ireland. All my families Bloyumi Long Tabarna, Lo Huristu. People condolence Toxore me extend him. Igolo Yuplagada, Big Pla lost the Yumelgada. Me come lo Parliament, one the Prime Minister of 2007. St. Julius have been out of politics for 10 years, and he re-entered Parliament in 2007 too. So this 17 years, we have been together on this journey, for me as a member of Parliament. So during this time, I've come to respect, greatest respect to Sir Julius Chen, to his work, to his ideas. Not only it is a great privilege to serve a founding father of our country, but also a wise man with great wisdom. Makes some of us sometimes young and robust, humble. Me in particular, all of us have our stories with Sir Julius Chen. Me too got story with Sir Julius Chen. Before I came into Parliament, we admired this man too. First Finance Minister, Yumelgeda Save, acting, Assistant Speaker, Pablo Kina de Toya. Not just that, but Central Bank. Not just that, but PNGBC and Agriculture Bank at the time now, all the financial institutions. I mean, no easy plus something. Me don't come to Parliament yet, na me looking at Finance Minister, me something me wamla great economist. I'm some economics degree or some kind degree also. But when I read his book, Playing the Game, I think me disappointedly that this man I so admired. I mean, some degree. I'm still college long Australia na. I'm play rugby na. I'm running motorbike na. I'm bump na. I'm no go long. Continuing his further education. But he was a determined man. Now in hindsight, you may gotta give credit to Grand Chief Sir Michael Thomas Somare, and he deserves all the credit and accolades. All the respect and honor you may give long him. Grand Chief Somare was determined and believed lo you he set a goal that Papua New Guinea must become independent. No what kind he divert him or undermine him or waver that sense of commitment. And that's a great achievement for Grand Chief Somare, and we must never forget, because plenty of time we take these things for granted. And it's not easy to put a nation together, especially a nation of 1,000 tribes, 860 languages. In 1975, you meet something like Brook yet. It needs
very special people like Grand Chief Somare. And he deserves all the credit. But Sir Julius Chantu Igoli, time you minister, give him credit. You know what one library, one road, one building, lo name lo Sir Julius. So instead, Speaker, me, Dr. Gustav, I mix emotion. Mixed emotion because I regret legally. Last year or year before, me thinking lo walking one time long grievance debate, I will pay tribute to St. Julius. And I keep thinking of going to visit him in the recent past. I think I'll have a time. Maybe this time will happen, but it never happened. So one of my regrets in life, not going to see this man who's a mentor, wise man, founding father, but also a very humble man. I can testify to this humbleness too. In his greatness, he's also humble. Time is tablausik long recovery or me recovery in Australia or Gold Coast. He was also undergoing treatment too. There's a machine stablo long until I think he failed and I go stablo. But when he heard that I also was under emergency or recovering after hospitalization, him come visit me. I'm sick here, assistant speaker, members of parliament. But it took time to come and visit me. And I was still humble by this gesture. And it's the measure of this man. In his greatness, he's also humble. And it's one big lesson to you mean now leaders today. You must emulate him or think him or try to manifest it too. We want to do great things. We want to be great leaders. But we must be humble too in what we do and reach out, show empathy and sympathy and support our people. Be there for our people too. In 2019, got 80 years Christmas vlog. And I had the privilege to extend him invitation to come to me long. Be his guest, the place vlog and the Huris. Hey, this man was well respected by our people in New Ireland. Remember, you know Giselle, you talk, you know Gaman. The people of New Ireland held him in high regard. Ceremony I'm start long country belonging minister below you law civil aviation transport. Start lo 5 o'clock ya, he going up lo 5 o'clock. All man Mary lo New Ireland, big man na Mary na my to all come. Ksim taro na, ksim miss na, all gonna pig na, come celebrate him life long him. Hey, mi pala governor ya mi, osem governor tu Mr. Lomos biya on man Mary no sa give me pig. Oh, one time also come. So me walk talk Lady Stella. I think CJ is not just a governor, he's a great leader. Maybe, you know, if we are in a feudal system, and by one blood, emperor or something of that. And that's very fitting of him. He has earned that respect. He has earned my respect. And I say this too with no, you know, short measure, because in his all his achievement too, which we all admire. One plus decision bongen too about sand line. You make a kind ting longen. Me, I was involved in mobilizing the city of Port Moresby or countering this addition. But when I come to Parliament and look in respect, I respect this decision too. Mr. Speaker, members of Parliament, at the time, PNG Defence Force is working Operation Footloose 1, now Operation Footloose 2. All go on tablo, Panguna. But BRA ready finish. They suffered wound. And they had to carry their wounded comrades down from Panguna, he come down. Down, he come along East Coast now, he go down the West Coast.
So some of these decisions leaders have to make. And they made a decision at the time. And Governor, Senior Bloyumi, Governor Blogal, for me explain you please. Inquiry come up. You can look at it whichever way. But it was a decisive decision too. You can look at one of the unintended consequences that you make a peace accord on the Bougainville. So you can be this way or that way. Me yet, me mobilize more people. And I came to understand the measure of the man. You may look back your life long end. Apart from putting the monetary system together, decision that they make, like sending Kumul force down to Vanuatu to intervene, to protect the sovereignty of the country. Some members of parliament at the time, only like welcome this decision, but said Jay was committed. PNG must be a country that is coming of age, that can make his mind. New Zealand and Australia are not like Salim troops to support him, Father Walter Lini. Sir Julius Chan made the decision with the parliament at the time. And look at the outcome now. Vanuatu remain its integrity staff, going to independence in 1980. And now they have the highest regard for our country and our people. No plenty country in the world only admiring Papua New Guinea. But one decisive decision. You mean thinking to the 1980s? All like New Guinea Islands, all like breakaway and go. All the premiers at the time. And St. Julius had to do what he has to do. The organic law was amended. Now you meet governors, governor of parliament. We can, by hindsight, look back and have a second thought and say maybe it's a wrong decision or so on. But he has to do what he has to do. Now you meet governors, members of parliament here, and the integrity of the state of Papua New Guinea is intact. That's the type of decision or leadership that we also need. Decisive. You mean no need to procrastinate. Losing igona. Decisions whether it's popular or not, sometimes we must make decisions. And that's a great lesson that some of us have come to learn and try our best to emulate. Sometimes, even me procrastinate. Some things I have to do in the city. Meeting me must work, but me along slack too. We continue to learn. So plenty, accolades you must give him, honor him, Sir Julius Chan. He lived this life for the service of our people, both in Namatanai and then New Ireland, and then Papua New Guinea. You miss Savetu. He never stopped thinking about Papua New Guinea until his death. You may look at Savaya. Prime Minister, I'm not losing government or opposition because I'm not like you. But only once is asked to perform well in government. Your Prime Minister must perform well. Ministers must perform well. Maybe I'm thinking no good you mean I go opposition, but you must respect them. And me too, I think I must thinking no good me too, yeah. You stop in the government, you know behind me. So let me not make him long against him anybody. He just want to teach us lessons. So you must pay him highest respect long and thank you, lo family belonging. All people below you, lo Tangar, lo Huris, Namatanai, New Island. You play vote him, come. To play them, you play Malolo long him, but you play Salim come back. I have been great privilege to share my time in Parliament with you, this great leader of our country. These leaders were, you may sample now, you may got kind degree in a master's, but all leaders at the time, they were masters in our culture and in our tradition and in leadership and wisdom of our ancestors. all karimi kam na, only put him strong foundation below you too. Some of the time you too must losing this kind degree below you kind. Now we draw on the leadership and the values and the success of our people who had survived, lived on this land 50,000 years. Only have survived now, sustainably coming up now, if they had no good values and foundation, good ideas. Now you may line him up, kind of passing along, ideas law, west na, east na, north na, south na. And it seems like we are not, acknowledging and vindicating the greatness of our ancestors too. And the people like Sumare, leaders, I mean, Sir Julius Chan, Sematia Beyui, Ruben Taureka, Olgada Se John Gais, Yambake Oku, Sete Abal. These are leaders schooled in the culture and tradition and wisdom of our ancestors. And they set the foundation of country. We have to honor them and respect them. And we should never forget them. We like to thank you, Lord Prime Minister. Continue to honor and pay respect to Grand Chief. That story is a great story. Our people must never forget, now and into the future. They must never forget. And Sir Julius too, all leaders of New Ireland, you must got ceremony belonging, if not in Keviang, at least in Huris. So our people too in New Ireland and PNJ Saul must never forget these great leaders who laid the foundation. Plenty you walk lose ting long all. We are forgetting. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Thank you once again, long family of Los Angeles, sharing this great man with us. Help him long, putting foundation of country together, bringing our country 50 years. Me talk sorry of some 8 months, 6 months time. I'm supposed to look him 50 years long. Hard work longen, walk longen, hand mark longen here. Him no come Lord's remark, but he's lived a great life, served his purpose. His life was a meaningful and purposeful life, and we are humble and thankful to him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Abao.
Thank you, Assistant Speaker. On behalf of my family, the people of Abao, I want to join the rest of the leaders who have paid tribute to this great leader in our country, the late Right Honourable Sir Julius Chan. I had some personal encounters with the late Right Honourable Sir Julius Chan, but before I share with you very short versions, I want to acknowledge God in bringing about this great man at a time when the nation was beginning to start as a country. I think history is now proven that at the foundation time of this young nation, the country needed Grand Chief Somare and Right Honourable Sir Julius Chan at that time. And so thank you, God, for allowing them to exist and be born during that time. Also, I want to thank the family, Lady Stella and his 2 remaining siblings, and Lady Stella and the children are here, the people of New Ireland, but particularly Lady Stella and the family, because as all of us know as leaders, plenty kind pressure and criticism have come. And the people who feel it most are the family. And so I want to thank Lady Stella and the children for providing a castle for this great leader that has stood the test of time through the early years of our nations beginning to give birth to our nation through the House of Assembly years, and then through this honorable House with both our Grand Chief Samara and Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan also served. And I give credit to them because all of us need a castle where we re-energize, re-get our energy as leaders. But for the family of the late Sir Julius Chan and Lady Stella Chan's motherhood, they were able to provide that platform for Sir Julius to exhibit his enormous wisdom and talent and ability to, particularly in those in those early years of our nation, that he was able to bring about structural changes to the financial system that were needed at that time, bringing about those institutions that other leaders have shared. And so, what a great story in the beginning. My story came in when I had the opportunity to be appointed Secretary for Health by him in 1996. But it was way before that, when he first became Prime Minister in the 1980s, that he went to one of my little villages in Abau called Gabuone, and he established a women's hall. And so I then knew that he was aligned to the grassroots people. And at one time, when I was sharing with him, I think I could be wrong, but I remember him telling me the story of how he was into the cooperative societies where the boats in Central Province, 2 boats called Magi and Kulau, they were the ones that would bring trade store goods, and in return, we would bring coconut, and then they would bring them back for market. When I was appointed Secretary for Health in 1996, I had the privilege of knowing what the Prime Minister's office operates like. And one thing I said at the House Cry I would want to share, because it emphasizes the focus, the dedication, and the commitment of this particular man that we are paying tribute to. That he actually every month would call us departmental heads, because he had in his office a whiteboard where the government's priority projects were. And that he would ask us to update him. And if we were lagging behind, then we had a warning. So he actually had a great focus and attention on the priorities that he, as the Prime Minister, wanted to deliver in the country. And I became a politician in 2002. And when I moved away from the Grand Chief, he was there supporting me. And recently, he joined us in Vanimo, and the latest he joined us. So he'd always moved when things are not right. He had the ability to discern where things are going wrong in leadership, and then he would be able to move away. And that is why I guess in his 2 prime ministerships, it was the vote of no confidences that brought him into the privilege of being a prime minister, rather than winning them in the elections like late Grand Chief used to do. I want to pose 2 questions in this tribute to this great man. One is a question that I've been pondering on for a while, and that is, out of the 8 prime ministers that we have had, 3 of those prime ministers went back to be governor of the provinces.
Sir Michael Somare, Sir Julius, and Honorable Winty. They had spent most of their time worrying about the country, and they forgot about their provinces. So when they had the chance, they went to be governors of the provinces, 3 prime ministers. I wonder, Assistant Speaker, what is there for the lesson? I think the lesson is these 3 prime ministers believe that the provinces are the basis for our nation building. If we get our provinces right and get the economies of those provinces right, align the budgets right so that governors and their members of parliament can move their provinces, I think as a country we will move at a faster pace than what we've been doing. Recommendation is that we really have to seriously look at the autonomy issue as we are now in the year of the 50th anniversary of independence. We have to seriously make a decision to structure an autonomous arrangement, because some of us, and I know many of you believe, like the 3 former prime ministers who went to become governors, including the Right Honorable Sir Julius Chen, provinces has to be the building block for the nation from now in the next 50 years to come. The Right Honorable Sir Julius Chen was the architect, as I said, of the structure of our financial and the economic systems. I recommend, Assistant Speaker, as we are going to celebrate our 50th anniversary, and at the launching of the 50th anniversary preparations by the Prime Minister on the 30th of January, the day that Sir Julius passed away, I think my message is, and being the architect of our economy and the financial legislations, I recommend, like I recommended when Grand Chief passed on, and I recommended that the CELAC be under his name, and now it's CELAC. I recommend that we move in the 50th anniversary. We have stopped at the 100 kina bill. No, not anything above 100 kina. I recommend, Assistant Speaker, that we look at producing a 1,000 kina bill. And in that 1,000 kina is Sir Julius's face. Because he is the one, as we are acknowledging, that he is the one that structured the financial system of this country. At a time, amongst our many leaders, Grand Chief appointed him as the first minister for Treasury and Finance. And at that time, Assistant Speaker, I want to acknowledge some other people, because many times in this type of occasions, we only praise the political heads. But I want to mention 4 people that were around that time when Prime Minister Somare and Minister Julius Chen wanted leaders in bureaucracy to develop the policy, draft the legislation, and manage the systems. And I want to acknowledge the gang of 4. Many times they have not been acknowledged, but on this occasion, I want to acknowledge them, and that is Sir Rabi Namaliu. He became Prime Minister. He was a champion in public service, first commissioner in Public Services Commission. I want to acknowledge Emeka Morauta. He became Prime Minister, as all of us have acknowledged. He was the first Secretary to Treasury and Finance. I want to acknowledge Sir Anthony Siaguru. He was a champion of fighting corruption in this country. And I also want to acknowledge Sir Charles Lepani. He was the key player in making sure that budget and planning were structured right. And at the same time, Sir Henry Robert, who was the first governor of the central bank. The lesson and the reason why I have mentioned them is because when there is combination of strong leadership in bureaucracy and politics, this country will move at a pace faster. But when bureaucratic leadership and political leadership there's an impasse between them, then we do experience terrible delivery of public goods and services in every sector. So on behalf of the people of Abau, I want to say thank you to the Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan for his life, his enormous contribution, and the legacy that will never, never be forgotten. And I want to sit down with and advise. There are only 3 people in the country that were given Privy Council recognition. And only 3 of them have the right to be called the Right Honorable. The Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan, the Right Honorable Rabi Namaliu, and the Right Honorable Sir Michael Somare. Everybody else should not be called the Right Honorable. Thank you, Assistant Speaker.
Leader of the Government Business.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, on this solemn moment, I moved that the debate be adjourned and made an order of the day for a debate tomorrow.
Question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Those in against say no. The ayes have it. The leader of Honourable members, I inform the Parliament that Chief of New Island Province will conduct a cultural wash down of the footprint of late Grand Chief Right Honourable Sir Julius Chan at the front of the Parliament building and will hold a reception at the State Function Room to express their appreciation and gratitude. And therefore, I invite all members to the front of the witness this ceremony after Parliament adjourned. Honourable members, I adjourn the Parliament until tomorrow at 10 a.m.